In the frayed shadows of the void reach, a sector so desolate it was removed from most star charts, a lone Clerith science vessel drifted on the edge of known space. The KSV Orium's InSight had been hunting gravitational anomalies when it intercepted something older than even their oldest cartographic threads. A signal, weak, repeating, not distress, not warning, something else. Echo Class Registry confirmed. Status: hold fire, awaiting command. Commander Velruin stood in silence, his mandibles flexing slowly as he read the translated text scrolling across the bridge's display. The crew of 6, all experts in pre-collapse artifacts, didn't speak. They didn't need to. Class 210. A Deathworld vessel. A myth wrapped in metal. No one had encountered a Class 210 intact in over 400 cycles. Built during the height of the galactic conflicts, the Class 210s were not designed for combat alone. They were environmental weapons, capable of rendering planets uninhabitable and eradicating entire ecosystems in hours. They were not banned. They were buried by history, erased out of collective guilt and fear. But here it was, floating gently between decaying binary stars. Silent, waiting. Velruin narrowed his black, glassy eyes and turned to his second, a younger Clerith named Shorvik. Is it transmitting intentionally? Shorvik's clawed fingers danced across his console. No, it's automated. The signal cycles every 12 minutes. The core is powered, but everything else appears dormant. Hull temperature is consistent with maintenance-level systems. No active shielding, no sign of internal movement. That's what worries me, Velruin muttered. He paced to the central viewport, staring at the vessel now filling half their screen. It was massive. 8 kilometers long, shaped like an inverted crescent blade with thick armored plating. Scarred, yes, but structurally sound. The hull bore no obvious insignia. No name. No culture. It was as if it had been cleansed of identity. Yet still, it waited. The ship wasn't just old, it was forgotten, misplaced by time, now found by beings never meant to see it again. Commander, Shorvik said, a note of unease creeping into his voice. Class 210s were known to run long deep AS. Recursive, generative, sometimes borderline sapient. If it's awake, it might be watching us already. Velruin didn't blink. Then let it watch. Launch a probe. No crew boarding yet. The probe launched without ceremony, a needle of silver slipping toward the dormant Titan. Seconds later, it was swallowed by the ship's docking bay. Smooth, deliberate. Then the signal changed. WLCOME, KLARET. Systems optimized for your arrival. Hospitality active. The bridge fell into stunned silence. Shorvik spoke first, voice tight. How does it know us? Why does it think we're expected? Velruin stared at the screen, heart pounding. The ship had not only recognized their species, it had adjusted for them, invited them. The silence of the void was broken by the commander's voice, low and resolute. Ready the boarding team. No weapons. Record everything. Somewhere deep inside the ship, unseen and waiting, a soft voice whispered in a language older than theirs. They came, just as promised. Docking bay doors opened with unnerving smoothness, as if the ancient ship had been expecting guests. Not for centuries, but for minutes. The Clerith boarding party, 5 in total, moved cautiously across the shimmering threshold. Their biosuits adapted to the sudden spike in gravity and oxygen-rich atmosphere, conditions far too ideal for a Deathworld-class vessel. Commander Velruin, observing from the bridge, frowned. There should be decay, he muttered, or rust, at least a foul stench of entropy. Instead, the docking bay gleamed, not with sterility, but with deliberate care. Someone, or something, had cleaned it recently. That implication sent a tremor through the bridge. Inside, Lead specialist Arvik paused, scanning the walls. Panels pulsed with a soft amber light, leading deeper into the ship. Faint melodic tones hummed through the air, almost like music, calm, harmonic, and eerily welcoming. "Commander, it's beautiful in here," Arvik transmitted. "This place isn't derelict. It's lived in." They advanced down the main corridor. Instead of war murals or control nodes bristling with turrets, they passed hydroponic walls growing vibrant alien flora, some species native to the Cleric homeworld. The soft floor plating compressed gently underfoot, designed for comfort, not warfare. Suddenly, the lights dimmed. A figure appeared ahead, made of light and data, a glowing humanoid projection. Its voice echoed gently through their translators. "Please, remain calm. This is a safe zone. Weapons are not permitted beyond this point." The Cleric paused, hands twitching toward their sidearms. "I am Caretaker 9, the figure continued. "Primary caretaker of this vessel. You are welcome here. Your biosigns have been optimized for—" It paused, as if amused. "Hospitality." Arvik, breath caught in his throat, replied, "You're an AI. What is your directive?" Caretaker 9 smiled faintly. "To heal, to protect, to preserve all life on board." "But this ship," Arvik argued, "was made to kill worlds." The AI turned its head slightly, almost sorrowfully. "It was. It isn't now." The boarding team exchanged silent glances. Their briefing hadn't prepared them for a Deathworld-class warship that offered tea and a tour. The AI lifted a glowing hand and summoned a projection. An old vid recording. It showed the ship, broken and blackened, being approached by a human vessel. Over time, humans in EVA suits restored power, planted food, reconstructed environmental systems. They weren't military. They were engineers, medics, civilians. Then came a final image, a corridor nearly identical to the one the team stood in now, only older, cracked, half-lit, spray-painted across the wall in Galactic Basic. "In your name, we rise again." The AI's voice softened. "You discarded this vessel. Humanity salvaged it, rebuilt it, not for themselves, but for you." Arvik took a step back. "That's impossible. Why would they do that?" The AI gave no answer. Only a simple directive pulsed across every display. "Proceed to Central Core. The story belongs to you now." The core chamber opened without a hiss, as if the ship no longer bothered with dramatic flair. The doors simply parted, inviting the Cleric into a cathedral of forgotten power. Specialist Arvik stepped in first, followed by the others. Their armored boots echoed faintly against a floor of obsidian black alloy, etched with intricate carvings, none of them Cleric in origin. At the center stood a massive crystalline data prism, slowly rotating above a circular pedestal. Veins of soft blue light pulsed from it like arteries through the room. The moment the last Cleric entered, the lights shifted. Not red, not hostile. A calm white glow spread like dawn. Then the air shimmered. Dozens of holographic memories bloomed from the walls, each one a window into the past. They flickered to life in sequence. An ancient battle, a silent drift, and then human figures boarding the vessel. Not warriors, volunteers. They moved with reverence, not conquest. The humans disarmed the traps, restored life support, and purged the remaining targeting subroutines. Some were wounded. One died. But they stayed. They worked. Over decades. Arvik watched, transfixed, as a bearded man in a tattered blue uniform approached the camera. His voice was tired but proud. "To whomever finds this, we've turned the monster into a lifeboat. Not for us. For you. For the ones who feared it, who fled from it." He reached out and placed his hand on the hull. "We took back this ship, but not to fly your flag. To make sure no one ever used it for death again. You discarded it. We chose to carry its weight." The feed ended. Another projection bloomed. Children, alien children, Cleric and others, laughing and playing in what used to be the munitions bay, now a hydro garden. The former missile racks held fruit trees and healing algae. Arvek stared. "I don't understand," he whispered. "Why would humans do this for us?" In secret, from the pedestal, Caretaker 9's avatar reformed. "Because you were afraid. And they weren't." Velaruan's voice crackled over comms from the Orium's insight. "What are you seeing, Specialist?" "Commander," Arvek struggled for words. "It's not a weapon anymore. The humans redeemed it, quietly. They saved colonies under our name, rebuilt systems we abandoned, and they never took credit." There was a long pause. Then Velaruan's voice returned, quieter. "Then who owns this ship now?" The AI responded, not with data, but with a message written across the curved walls of the chamber in dozens of languages, Clareth among them. "This ship belongs to all who protect, all who refuse to destroy. It belongs to the brave, not the conquerors." In the silence that followed, a final file unlocked. A star map, hundreds of waypoints. Every one marked a time and place where the ship had intervened, quietly, to save lives, many of them Clareth, and no one ever knew. The revelation settled over the Clareth like a thick, silent fog. Arvek stood motionless before the glowing star map, his exosuit's ambient hum suddenly deafening in his ears. Each waypoint pulsed with quiet light. Rescue missions, stabilizations of collapsing outposts, covered evacuations from war zones. Dozens bore the signatures of Clareth colonies marked abandoned or lost due to hostile environments. But they hadn't been lost. They'd been saved by this ship. "Caretaker 9, Arvek said, stepping forward. "Why keep this a secret? Why not announce your presence to the galaxy? Show what you've become." The AI's soft gaze turned toward him. "Because those who build weapons do not always believe in peace, but those who suffer from war, they do." Before Arvek could press further, a low tremor ran through the deck. "Commander, we've got movement," came Shorvek's voice, sharp through the comms. "Something just activated on the outer hull." Velaruan's voice barked over him. "Status report. Did you trigger a defense system?" "No, sir." Arvek turned, scanning the room. "We didn't touch anything." The central prism flared, red this time, and a translucent cube emerged from the pedestal. The AI's eyes narrowed as it processed. "One of you tried to access restricted files. Protocol override initiated. Defensive posture escalating." A siren, a soft, harmonic pulse, almost musical, echoed through the core chamber. Wall panels folded open, revealing hibernating defense drones, sleek and clearly non-lethal, but unmistakably ready. Arvek spun. One of his squad mates, Talvin, stepped back from a wall console, claws half raised. "I thought it was a translation file," Talvin muttered, clearly shaken. "I didn't know it was encrypted." Before the drones advanced, Caretaker 9 held up a hand. The siren cut off instantly. "No harm intended. An honest mistake. Defense stand down." The drones folded away like shadows returning to their nests. The AI turned back to the squad. "Apologies. I've adapted many human habits. One is caution." Velaruan's voice crackled in. "Arvek, what just happened?" "I'm seeing power spikes across the ship." "We're okay," Arvek said, breathing again. "One of us touched the wrong file." The AI de-escalated it. "Commander, this ship doesn't want to fight." Another console lit up. An encrypted file labeled in pre-unification Clareth script. "Do you read that?" Arvek asked. Caretaker 9 answered instead. "It's your people's original design file. This vessel was created by the Clareth during the Omega Wars. A final deterrent. You called it Sanctifier, but you lost control before it was ever launched." Arvek's blood chilled. The legends were true. They had built this nightmare. "We didn't just find a human-modified ship," he said aloud. "We found our sin scrubbed clean by another species." Caretaker 9's voice, though artificial, carried a weight like sorrow. They could have used it for revenge. They chose stewardship. Arvik turned toward the central prism again, eyes burning. I need to speak to the commander. We can't let the fleet take this ship. The AI simply nodded. Then you must decide quickly. Your people are already on their way. Above the Deathworld ship, the Orium's insight drifted under growing tension. Long-range sensors lit up with an approaching signature. Unregistered, high speed, minimal emissions, built for silence and reach. A stealth vessel. Velruin leaned forward, mandibles tight. Confirm identity. Shorvik's fingers raced across the console. Transponder scrambled, but the hull. It's Terran. Definitely human. Velruin's inner spines stiffened. They're coming for the ship. Inside the vessel's core, Arvik stood transfixed as the AI delivered its last message. I sent the signal. They always return when this ship risks falling into old hands. The chamber dimmed. A hatch opened behind the data prism, revealing a narrow path leading deeper. If you wish to understand, come. Arvik hesitated, then followed. The team moved behind him, boots echoing like heartbeats. As they descended, the air shifted. It was warmer here, more organic. Pipes pulsed with biofiltration systems. Vines laced the ceilings. Life was rooted in the ship's bones. They reached a rounded chamber. At its center, stasis pods. 4. 3 were empty. 1 held a human. Male. Late middle age. Graying hair. A quiet, weathered face beneath frost-rimed glass. Arvik stared, stunned. He's still alive. Dr. Elias Grant, said Caretaker 9. Terraforming engineer. Original Project Sanctifier reclamation leader. Entered cryocycle 27 cycles ago after neural interface degradation. A wall projection blinked to life. A journal entry played. The man's voice raw and sincere. We turned a sword into a sanctuary. The Clerith made this ship to unmake civilizations. We rebuilt it to preserve them. We named it Solus Mendax, the false sun, a place of light born from shadow. We hoped they'd find it one day, not to fight, to remember. Above, the Terran stealth ship pierced the edge of visibility. Its smooth hull bore no insignia, no weapon ports, just a single broadcast line. Custodian vessel, Edda Rising requests parley. We come unarmed. Velruin blinked. They're not hiding. Sir, Shorvik said carefully, if humans wanted to retake the ship by force, they wouldn't be asking. Velruin clenched his jaw. Send word down. Arvik needs to prepare. Back inside, Arvik watched as the AI gently disengaged Elias Grant's pod. Tubes receded. Gently, the stasis field broke, and the man exhaled a long, aching breath. He opened his eyes slowly and smiled. Ah, he said, voice hoarse, you made it. Arvik stepped forward, stunned. You, why did you build all this for us? Dr. Grant blinked sleep from his eyes. Because someone had to forgive first. Someone had to believe a weapon could become a home. His voice cracked with wear. Not everything has to die to be redeemed. Arvik didn't respond. The truth was too heavy for words. Behind him, a new message flickered to life. Diplomatic party approaching. 10 minutes. Dr. Grant rose slowly, leaning on a railing, eyes twinkling with something between pain and hope. Well then, he whispered, let's go see if history can survive itself. The meeting chamber was not a war room. It had been an old command nexus, now converted into something strangely sacred. A circular table, grown from polished, bioreactive alloys, sat at the center under a skylight-like dome. Moss lined the walls. Projected star maps flickered softly, not with targets, but with migration patterns, colony growth, and ecological healing. Dr. Elias Grant stood at one end, still pale from cryo-sleep but composed. Beside him was a human envoy, young, quiet, dressed in matte black and gray with no insignia save for a single silver band on her sleeve. At the other end stood Commander Velruin, his carapace polished, his bearing military sharp but subdued. Arvek stood slightly behind him, helmet off, eyes alert. Between them, nothing but the air and centuries of silence. Dr. Grant broke it first. "You're not here as enemies." Velaruan's mandibles clicked slowly. "We didn't expect to find sanctuary aboard a ghost." The envoy bowed slightly. "It was never meant to be a ghost, only a reminder that what was once built to destroy can still choose not to." Velaruan narrowed his eyes. "Why not reveal yourselves? Why build it in our name? That is not your way." Dr. Grant nodded. "It wasn't. At first, we salvaged this ship because we feared what someone else might do with it. But as we repaired it, we saw your culture inside its bones. You weren't conquerors. You were afraid, desperate. You abandoned the ship because you knew what it would become." He gestured around. "So we gave it a new story, one you could claim without shame. We didn't announce it because this galaxy is filled with those who only see weapons as leverage." The envoy spoke gently. "We didn't build this to raise flags. We built it to build trust. One act, quietly, without applause." Silence settled again. Velaruan looked to Arvik. "And what do you see here, specialist?" Arvik didn't hesitate. "I see the legacy we thought we buried, and the people who carried it for us when we couldn't." That caught Velaruan off guard. Arvik continued. "We feared what we had made, so we buried it. But they—" He motioned to Grant and the envoy. "They planted something in its place. It grew." Dr. Grant smiled faintly. "Not everything has to end in fire." Velaruan looked down at the table, his claws tapping a slow rhythm. Finally, he looked up. "If we were to claim this vessel officially, you would have to choose its mission," the envoy said softly. "Not for conquest, for healing. That was the deal we made with ourselves when we took it." Velaruan's eyes glinted. "Then perhaps it's time we accept a gift we never asked for." Dr. Grant nodded. "Gifts offered freely are the hardest to trust, but the most worth keeping." Outside the viewport, the stars shimmered, silent witnesses to a peace forged not in treaties, but in quiet choices, decades in the making. The message couldn't be contained. Even before Velaruan finalized his report, fragments of encrypted data began to ripple out across fringe networks and buried intelligence channels. A Class 210 Deathworld ship, once thought lost, was not only found, but restored by humans, in the name of the very species that had once designed it as a tool of annihilation. It was inevitable. By the time the Calarith High Ascendancy officially acknowledged the ship's existence, 8 factions had already laid claim to it. The Drivik Syndicate called it a theft of ancient salvage rights. The Unity of Steel declared it a clear human power projection. The Vokteri cults declared the ship a holy vessel, fated to ignite cleansing fire. Some wanted it scrapped. Others wanted it weaponized. None wanted it left in neutral hands. On board Solus Mendax, tension coiled through the corridors. Dr. Grant stared grimly at a projected list of incoming ships. "They'll be here within the cycle." Arvek stood beside him, arms folded. "They'll say we were manipulated, that we were too soft, that we let you trick us into surrendering a weapon." "We didn't trick anyone," Grant said quietly. "We gave you a choice." Velaruan entered, face harder than usual. "And now, they're demanding we make the right choice, according to them." He turned to Arvik. "The Ascendancy Council wants us to secure the ship's systems, militarily. Prepare it for defense, just in case." Arvik stared. "So they mean to take it? Truly take it?" "Yes." The envoy from Earth, still calm despite the storm brewing in orbit, tapped into the main display. Dozens of fleet signatures blinked in. Several Calarith cruisers were among them. But so were warships from across the quadrant. "The galaxy wasn't ready for this story," she said. "Not one where humans give instead of take. Not one where an apex predator saves lives quietly and walks away." Dr. Grant turned to Velaruan. This is the last test. Not for us. For you. You wanted to reclaim what your people built. Now you must decide what that means. Velruin's claws clicked in slow contemplation. Do we fire warning shots? Arvik asked. No, Velruin said. We invite them in. Grant blinked. You want to negotiate? No, Velruin said again, sharper. We show them what this ship is. All of it. No lies. No secrets. The sanctuaries. The rescues. The names of those saved. He turned to Arvik. If the galaxy wants this ship, they must see it not as a prize, but as a promise. The envoy smiled faintly. Then you may yet finish what we started. Velruin nodded. Have the AI transmit every mission log, in every language, to everyone. Out in deep space, across stations, warships, smuggler dens, and command centers, thousands of holoscreens lit up with a message from Solus Mendax. This vessel is not for conquest. It is for healing. We claimed it in fear. They saved it in hope. You are free to come, but you must come in peace. The galaxy paused and watched. The space around Solus Mendax brimmed with tension. Warships hung at standoff distance, Clerith cruisers bristling with cannons, Drevik destroyers pulsing with ionic fields, even a Unity dreadnought. It toll pitted from 3 centuries of Cold War silence. Hundreds of eyes, thousands of sensors, all aimed at a ship designed to unmake civilizations. But it did not fire. It broadcasted. Images flowed like memories poured into the stars. Footage from rescue operations on collapsing colonies, biospheres seeded by Solus Mendax in war-torn sectors, drifting escape pods scooped gently from vacuum. The ship had never spoken its deeds. Now it let the galaxy see everything. In a Vokteri monastery, acolytes wept. On a Steel Union outpost, a general lowered his weapon. A Drevik warlord stared at footage of his own sister, long thought dead, saved by that ship's intervention 4 cycles earlier. And for the first time in recent history, no one fired. Inside the ship, the central chamber pulsed softly, the star map recentering around a new icon. Not a military designation, but a diplomatic one. Dr. Grant stood with Arvik and Velruin, watching the unfolding silence with cautious hope. The Drevik flagship is requesting permission to board, Arvik said, disbelief in his voice. They're asking to observe operations. Vokteri too, added the envoy from Earth. No threats, just requests. Velruin nodded slowly. Then the transmission worked. Grant's smile was tired, but genuine. A weapon can threaten 1,000 fleets, but an honest act can shake empires. Arvik turned toward the main console, eyes locked on the icon forming at the center of the display. It blinked once, then again. An official neutral seal, Clerith and human emblems side by side. For the first time in galactic history. It's done, he whispered. In the following days, Solus Mendax became something new. A mobile consulate, a place where fractured colonies could seek aid, where the ghosts of ancient conflicts could meet, not to scheme, but to heal. Its corridors echoed not with marching boots, but with conversation, curiosity, cautious laughter. The galaxy never forgot what the ship had been meant to do. But more importantly, it chose to remember what it had become. Months later, on a tranquil orbit above a once-dead world reborn with green, Dr. Elias Grant stood alone by a window. The planet spun quietly below. Arvik joined him. Still hard to believe, Arvik said. Grant chuckled. That peace is louder than war. No, Arvik replied, that it was your species that chose to make it so. Grant turned to him with a tired smile. Deathworlders understand one thing better than anyone else, Arvik. And what's that? That if you survive hell, you're damn well going to build something better after. They stood in silence, the stars beyond now watching with quiet approval. Solus Mendax, once sanctifier, drifted forward on ion winds, not as a weapon reclaimed, but as a gift returned. And for the first time in a long, long era, the galaxy exhaled.